Hello again, and welcome back to Rudy's 1/6 World for another new figure showcase, where we'll take a look at the newest edition of my collection and do a quick review / posing session. And today, we'll be looking at a really exciting release, and it's the integrated suit Spider-Man from Spider-Man No Way Home, and this is the deluxe version, which includes 2 additional accessories. Now, usually with Hot Toys, or at least in the past, the deluxe versions would have a small different accessory, but in this case, I think there are actually pretty big differences between the standard and deluxe editions, which we'll get into. And also, I'm going to apologize if I repeat myself a lot during this one, but this is a pretty exciting release, and I'm pretty blown away by what we're getting. So I'm kind of giving you a preview of where we're going with the review. But before getting into the figure, let's talk about this version of Spider-Man. In the movie, this is essentially the advanced suit version from Far From Home, just reinfused with the StarTech nanobots that Dr. Octopus had originally stolen from Peter during their first interaction. And he's obviously getting this in preparation for that final battle that they have at the Statue of Liberty. Now, No Way Home itself was an interesting movie for me because I did unfortunately have a lot of it spoiled going in. So when I watched it for the first time, there was obviously a great nostalgia factor, right? Seeing all the characters from the previous cinematic versions of Spider-Man and so on, but I wasn't blown away. But then I watched it a second time, and that initial reaction changed completely. So maybe I just wasn't in the right frame of mind for that initial watch. But I think it's definitely top tier Phase 4 and top tier MCU. There really are so many great moments in that movie, and it caps off kind of an overall origin storyline for Spidey in the MCU, culminating with him in a position that we're more used to from the comics. So this figure I think was essential for anyone trying to recreate that final battle lineup. I did buy the black and gold suit version, but passed on the movie promo battle damage suit just because I already have the clean version from Far From Home, and it's a little too similar for me. If it does go on discount, I might be tempted to pick him up. But this version was the one I was really excited for. And in particular, I was excited for that diorama piece, which is exclusive to the deluxe. And I just remember thinking how incredible it looked in those pre-order picks, right? Incorporating the Doc Ock arms, the Goblin pumpkin bombs, and so on. And I have to say, it didn't disappoint. But first, let's start off by looking at the overall figure and package. And this is impressive. I think of all the Hot Toys figures I've gotten this past year, this one just feels high-end. First of all, the box it comes in is massive, and that's due primarily to the large-scale diorama and all the pieces that go into it. So looking at the accessories, you're seeing everything straight out of the box, including the base in its disassembled form, and it feels like a very loaded release with a ton of components and accessories, even for the base figure. You have lots of bits and pieces included. Now, the second additional piece we get with the deluxe version of the figure is a second head sculpt, which has Peter with the Spidey mask lifted to rest on his forehead. So that in itself is a great added extra. So the set comes with 3 sculpts overall. Very impressive package just from that point of view. Now, usually we'll jump into specific accessories, but here I'll leave the base just for last and we'll look at it fully assembled just to save some time. But let's start off with the extras here. And first up we have the hand, and you get an entire slew of them designed with different gestures and to hold specific accessories, be it his mask or his cell phone. And then you do get these 2 pieces that attach to the web shooting posed hands and allow you to connect some of the web shooting pieces to the figure's hands. And the fingers all have really nice texturing for the red. Next up you get his wings, which deploy under his arms and allow him to glide for a bit. And we've seen these similar pieces with some of the prior Spidey figures. But here we're getting these nice pieces that match the color configuration of the integrated suit. So it'll be nice to see them posed on him. Not sure I'd elect to keep them on, but it's another display option, which is the beauty of these 6-scale figures. Beyond that, you also get 4 additional pairs of eyepieces that connect to the mask sculpt via magnets. So you get the fully opened eyes that are currently on the sculpt, and then you get a varying degree of reduced pieces, including what looks like a pair of closed eye options, which again, not sure would make for the best display. But besides that, there's some really nice detailing on the lens portion of the eyes with some underlaying pattern to it that looks incredible, especially for such a minor detail. And you're also getting a ton of web pieces, some of which can attach to his hand so it looks like he's shooting them, while others are pieces he's going to grip with his hands. And you get the now standard attachment for some of these pieces, which is the tip of the web unfurling. So again, nice touches here, and I think by now you're starting to realize, like I quickly did, that there are almost limitless display options here. And on top of that, you do get the 4 mechanical arms that connect to the figure's back. But the interesting thing, if memory serves, I don't think he actually deploys those arms with this particular suit. I know he uses the Iron Spider suit earlier on in the movie, but I don't recall him using the arms at the end. So great looking pieces, but not exactly screen accurate. And the final 2 pieces are his mask for him to hold with the unmasked sculpt, and it's nicely done, but nothing we haven't seen before. And he also does include his cell phone, which is actually really nicely done with the plastic screen. Only slight issue I have with this is that there's no print under the screen. If he's using it, you'd expect something to be on it. Look, it's a really small detail, so not something I think most people would notice, but I have seen other figures come with the screen print. Even Nick Fury from the Winter Soldier had his phone with a nice print on it, so it can be done. Now, usually I'd look at the sculpts on the figure itself, but I decided to do it a little differently here and just look at them as part of the accessories. So we'll start with the unmasked sculpt, and it's really impressive. Hot Toys did a great job capturing Tom Holland's likeness, and I think to date it's the best sculpt we've gotten with the best sculpted hair. I will note the sculpt coming with the recently announced final suit version does look like it'll take the title when it gets released, but even then it doesn't minimize how good this looks. And the second sculpt is the exclusive to the set, and that one is the one with the mask lifted up to his forehead, revealing his face. This one is a really nice touch because all the Peters kept doing that during the final battle, and it gives you a really unique look. Likeness here is totally on point, but I do have a small gripe, and that is that the mask is done in sculpted plastic. So the material doesn't match the one used on the suit or the material that comes with the sculpted head. I think that's my one complaint here. It would have been nice if they had matched the same kind of fabric. But beyond that, I think it's a pretty nice piece to get. Now that brings us to one of the biggest highlights, I think, of this set, and without a doubt, it's the diorama base. What you're seeing here is the fully assembled version, and it's jaw-dropping. I mean, first of all, it's huge. I think it may be up to this point the largest diorama base Hot Toys has produced, and there's so much great detail work, starting with the Dr. Octopus tentacles, which are big pieces, and you'll see how big once Spidey gets added to the display. Paintwork is amazing, and I love the choice here to make this a sculpted element on a flexible piece, because when you pose the arms, it looks really good and like a shot from the movie. I think the only other version of these arms would be the third-party Toys R Us one, and while I can appreciate that what they were going for with those, these just look better. And that includes all the great detail work for the claws at the end of the arms, which are two distinctive pieces. So great variety there. Green Goblin pumpkin bombs also look great, and they've got great detail work for the smoke effect as well, and it does give the base a little bit of a dynamic feel. And then even the details, like the steel braced element in the back, from a detailing point of view, it's amazing, with Hot Toys capturing some of the rivet details, and if you look closely at the paint apps, they even capture some of the rust bleed on the surface of the steel. So it's definitely by itself one of the most amazing bases I've seen to date. Honestly, I can see how the base was worth the added cost for the deluxe figure. Now, let's not lose focus on the main part of the release, which is Spider-Man himself. And I do like this version of his suit a lot, since it's a combination of that advanced suit and the Iron Spider version, particularly with the oversized gold spider logo on his chest. But I love the mixed material here, with the fabric elements for the red portions of the suit blending in with the more rubbery material for the black portions. Now, the red portions aren't just base fabric. They do have some nice texturing and detailing to them, and surprisingly, the gold spider emblem also has some added internal details inside. I also like the red trim on his arms, breaking up the black portions of the suit, and then going down his legs. The rubber also does have some texturing to it, as well as some detail work that appears to be screen printed, so overall really nice. One thing I did notice, it might be a little negative, is that the region of the suit with the knee pads is a little funky, and you do have to move the suit around to get those to sit more naturally over his knees. So just something to work on a little bit. It's funny, looking at the suit, it almost seems too busy since there's a lot going on, but it definitely works. And I think as the last suit of the Stark Tech era, it closes the page on that book nicely and works well. So as we look at some additional poses, let's talk a little more about the releases in broader terms, and also potential observations for upcoming figures. First of all, the diorama for me really elevates the release. The figure by itself is great, don't get me wrong, but the base really does amp up the appeal and the visual impact. And I think as a package, it really feels like you're getting a lot with this deluxe. So I do think it's the right direction for Hot Toys to go in as they seek to stay competitive or stay dominant in the market. And the other interesting thing here from the base are the Doc Ock tentacles, because I think these are clearly in scale with what we're going to be getting with that figure when he finally gets released. So I have to say, he's going to be big once you have him fully posed with the arms. And I think that's going to hold true for the rest of this No Way Home line. They're going to end up claiming a lot of space in our displays, especially if you get the deluxe versions. But if these tentacles are any indication of the quality we'll be getting with Doc Ock, I think they're going to be a huge hit. The Toys R Us ones had individual links creating the arms, and while it looked good, I think it was a little harder to pose and to get it to look natural. These arms though are molded pieces, and like I mentioned at the start of the video, once you start posing them, they do look really nice, and all the different poses I had, there's a natural smoothness to the arms that matches what we saw on screen. So overall, it's a beautiful set from Hot Toys. The base is a key component of that, but let's not take away from the figure, which I think is a beautiful recreation of the final battle suit that we saw on screen. And as any Spidey figure should, he poses amazingly well. And with the base, it really feels like you can really get creative. For example, there were some poses where I actually removed the Doc Ock arms and it still looked great. And not only that, but throw in the 3 sculpts and you can get creative there. Even the wings let you do some nice things with the figure, although I will say I did struggle getting them to sit nicely and to get those gaps between the suit and the wings close nicely. But once they were on, I'm not gonna lie, he looked pretty good. And also with the Doc Ock arms, if you're so inclined, you can actually get rid of the flight stand and use the tentacles to hold the figure. Throw in all the web attachments, and the variety here is impressive. And I will say, even though he doesn't use the arms in the final fight, the mechanical arms that come with him, the fact that we're getting them here and we can use them to display with the rest of the diorama also adds another nice layer and a nice option. Although I already do have the Iron Spider suit, and I think I'll keep him with the arms and keep this integrated set in some of the more traditional poses. Although the flying wing version does look nice, I have to admit. Another thing I do have to mention here, I love the pegs on this one. If you've watched any of my other recent review videos, I feel like I've had a run of bad luck with broken pegs and pegs that were just really hard to deal with, from the 3-0 figures to the damn Toys Vera and so on. So here, swapping the hands out was remarkably simple, so it made posing the figure more fun because you could focus on just articulating as opposed to struggling with the wrist or neck peg. I will say I'm happy to have put in my first order for Maja cases, although they seem to be a few months out, optimistically. But with these bases, I'm going to need the space, and I think that's going to be the case for the Toby Spidey and the Andrew version if that one ever gets released. And it does seem to be a path Hot Toys is on lately if the Mark 6 with Gantry is any indication. So I think we'll have to see how Hot Toys continues to evolve with their figures and with these bases. But that was just a quick look at the integrated suit Spider-Man with diorama base, and this one didn't make my most anticipated list for 2023, but I will say it's the first surprise of the year for me with how good it actually is, and I'm really impressed with the quality we got here, and also just how it looks. It's really impressive. So that's it. So let me know what your thoughts are on this figure, and especially this question about potential real estate issue required to display these bases and these new figures that keep getting announced. And as always, thank you for watching, and if you are enjoying the content, please go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll touch base on the next video.